While Pripyat's abandoned nuclear wasteland is scary to look at in pictures and on a guided tour, there are many other places around the Earth, and potentially closer to home, full of things like apparent monsters, chilling histories, and paranormal experiences. Hello everyone, I'm your host Woody, and today we are going to be taking a look at the top 10 places on Earth scarier than Chernobyl. Number 10. Nagoro, Japan. From the outside, this city may seem like any other small riverside village in Japan, but the scariest part of this town is its residents. As you journey through the town, you might see an elderly couple tending to their garden, people shopping at the grocery store, and children attending school. But look closely and you will realize that these people aren't actually people. They are life-size dolls. Only around 20 citizens of the village are actual living, breathing humans, the youngest being over 50 years old. So then, why is there a school full of children? 12 plush scarecrows sit at their desks doing homework while being taught by an equally felted teacher. These tableaus are present throughout the entirety of the village, especially in the abandoned and fading buildings, adding a constant creepy aura to the sleepy little town. It began in 2002 when a resident created a scarecrow of her father, and it has only continued to grow since then. Number 9. Centralia, Pennsylvania. Forget Hunger Games: The Girl on Fire, Centralia, Pennsylvania is the city on fire. This ghost town in the United States used to have thousands of residents and had a booming economy and infrastructure thanks to the lengthy coal mines around and underneath the town. In the 60s, however, they discovered they had an issue with illegal dumping and built a massive landfill, and eventually it came time to burn it out. What they didn't realize, however, was that there was a hole connected to the mines at the bottom of the garbage, and the fire quickly spread to the coal mines beneath the town. They didn't realize it until smoke started billowing out of the ground, and they discovered that there was no way to put the fire out. Residents were forced out of the town as the fire was causing people to pass out in their homes, and massive sinkholes were opening up in the ground. Some people fought to stay, however, and the once bustling town now has only about 5 residents. To this day, the fires are still burning, and the coal underground could allow the town to burn for another 250 years. Number 8. Gomantong Caves in Malaysia. This one doesn't come with any horrible tragedy or ghost story, but is instead a terrifying destination for those of us who hate creepy crawlies. When you first enter Gomantong Caves in Malaysia, you'll notice a large amount of excrement on the ground. That's because the caves are home to almost 2 million bats that sleep there during the day. When you get further in, the walls and floors seem to be moving. That's because what's left behind by bats attracts millions of cockroaches into the caves. It's almost impossible to take a step without trampling on a few of the creatures, so it's probably a good idea not to wear your favorite shoes if you plan on taking a tour. It doesn't end there though, as the caves are also home to swarms of giant millipedes. So basically it just sounds like somewhere I have absolutely no interest in visiting. But apparently at around 8 p.m. every night, you can see the bats leaving the cave in what looks like a massive black vortex. So if you're willing to kiss a few cockroaches to be able to see that, well, that's your choice. Number 7. Haw Par Villa in Singapore. This theme park is one of those places that you just can't believe somebody actually thought, hey, this is a good idea, and went ahead with building it. Haw Par Villa in Singapore is an amusement park that is home to mostly creepy and bizarre statues. This place is known as basically the opposite of Disneyland, as it is themed after the underworld, and the main attraction is the 10 Courts of Hell. It was built and intended to teach children about morality, with statues of people being punished for committing certain crimes. I think would be enough to just tell the children that if they sin, they'll have to spend the afterlife at this theme park. Statues include things like animals eating people, half human, half crab creatures, and various other gory tableaus. For those who are fans of the creepy and macabre, this may be a top tier destination spot, but for the rest of us, I think I'll just stick with Disney for now. Number 6. The Stanley Hotel in Colorado. If you're a fan of The Shining, then you're probably already aware of the Stanley Hotel, as this creepy hotel was the basis for the setting of the movie, a visit in 1974 inspiring Stephen King to write the novel, and the pet cemetery on site of the hotel would also serve as inspiration for another book he would write, of course, Pet Sematary. The large estate sitting at the bottom of the Rocky Mountains has a long history, as well as a long history of ghostly hauntings and inexplicable encounters. A ghost tour highlights a lot of the main specters that are said to roam the rooms and halls of the hotel. Stanley himself and his wife Flora apparently remain there, seen within the bar and playing the piano respectively. A few of the rooms are reportedly haunted with specific ghosts, 407 haunted by Lord Dunraven and 418 is haunted by children who can be heard laughing. Stephen King had stayed within room 217, outside of which a ghost of a young boy is said to appear. The author said he had seen the child himself and that he was apparently calling out for his nanny. Number 5. Poveglia Island in Italy. Known as Italy's most haunted island and sometimes considered one of the most haunted places in the world, Poveglia Island is home to a long and twisted history. When the bubonic plague was sweeping populations, those who were sick were sent off to Poveglia Island as a sort of quarantine zone, and the same happened when the Black Death was going around. In the late 1800s, an asylum was built on the island. It was poorly constructed and wasn't really used as a place for healing or caring for the sick, but instead as a place of exile for them to be kept away from the rest of the community and to spend the rest of their days. In the 1930s, there was apparently a cruel doctor running the asylum who was responsible for doing unethical experiments on the patients. Eventually, he fell from the bell tower, and while it's long gone, people say that they can still hear the chimes of the bell coming from the island. It is apparently crawling with the ghosts of the many souls who passed away there over the centuries. If you want to check it out for yourself though, you may find it quite difficult, as Italy prevents any tourists from visiting the island, and there is a lengthy application process to even be considered. Number 4. Tranquille Sanitorium in Kamloops, British Columbia. Going up to the Great White North, Tranquille Sanatorium in British Columbia is known as one of the most haunted places in Canada. It was built in 1907 to treat people who were suffering from tuberculosis. It operated this way for many decades until it eventually closed its doors in 1958, as anti-tuberculosis medicine came around in 1940. It became a mental health institution before later becoming a detention facility for young offenders. As with Poveglia, the history of disease and death has led many to believe that the facility and grounds are incredibly haunted, and many people have reported large amounts of paranormal experiences. There are apparently various different ghosts you can spot there, like a mother crying for her child or the sound of children playing. And many people have shared photos from the facility where you can see ghost orbs or the outlines of figures in the dark. One of the main highlights, however, is the tunnels underneath, which were used for transportation and are apparently incredibly haunted. If you're interested, the farm that is now on the property offers tours and even escape rooms. Number 3. Hoia Baciu Forest in Romania. Known as one of the most haunted forests in the world, Hoia Baciu is known as the Bermuda Triangle of Romania. The first thing that you'll notice when looking at pictures of the forest are the trees that appear crooked and bent, looking like they're contorting and reaching out for something. There are many legends surrounding the forest, most to do with ghostly and paranormal sightings. There's one story of a girl who disappeared into the forest, only to reappear 5 years later with no memory of what had happened or where she had been. She was wearing the same clothing and apparently hadn't aged at all. There's also another story about a sheep herder and his entire flock of 200 sheep which vanished into the woods, never to be seen again. Those who do enter the forest and make it back out find themselves with mysterious headaches, rashes, and burns with no known explanation. And you know I can't make it through a list without mentioning aliens, so yes, there have been numerous reports of UFOs and extraterrestrials residing within the forest. Number 2. The Paris Catacombs. Claustrophobic underground tunnels filled with 6 million bodies? Of course it's haunted. The Paris Catacombs were created in the 18th century when the cemeteries were becoming overcrowded and they needed to find a quick solution. The 200 miles of tunnels lined with skeletons are home to plenty of ghost stories, legends, and petrifying encounters. One of the most famous stories comes from the 1990s when a group was exploring the dark tunnels and they found an abandoned camera. It had footage on it, and when they played it, they were disturbed to find footage of a man who was clearly lost, running through the catacombs before he eventually drops the camera. Nobody knows what happened to the man or where he ended up. It's also said that if you're there after midnight, the walls will start to speak to you, dismembered voices urging you to venture deeper and deeper into the tomb until you're no longer able to find your way out. Number 1. The Island of the Dolls. In the mid-20th century, a man named Don Julian left his wife to live alone on an island on a lake in Mexico. Shortly after he had moved there, he discovered the body of a girl in the river, followed by a doll floating by. He took the doll and hung it from a tree in an attempt to appease the girl's spirit, but apparently it wasn't enough. For the next 50 years, he would collect dolls from the trash and canals and hang them from all the trees on the island. The dolls and toys are all in various states of disrepair, some completely falling apart, making it one of the creepiest islands on Earth. In 2001, Don Julian himself passed away, his body being discovered in the river. The dolls that still remain on this island to this day are supposedly haunted, there being many reports of their eyes moving to look at you, their arms moving as though to reach out to you, and apparently whispering to each other in the night. If the photos of the island aren't enough to scare you away, you can get onto the island for yourself for just around $2 a person. But once again, I'll leave the exploration up to you guys. That was 10 places on Earth scarier than Chernobyl, which may stop you from renewing your passport anytime soon. I've been Woody and you've been amazing. Join us next time for more lists and scary things.